Hey, today we have a new surprising patch that reverts the changes on the Plasma Punisher shotgun. They've also increased the lifetime on the shield generator, resolved a few crashes, and there's much more to go over. If you can support the channel, please tap the like button below at any point and subscribe with notifications on. Let's start with the balancing. So right here at the top for stratagems, it says, obviously shield generator relay, and they've increased the lifetime from 30 to 40 seconds. So that's overall a lot better than from before. And then we go to SGAP Punisher Plasma. This is what they had to say. In response to popular Helldiver demand, General Brasch has issued an administrative order to revert the production changes made to the SGAP Punisher Plasma from patch 01.001.104. We have reverted the latest changes on the SGAP Punisher Plasma. Will now have a more noticeable arc in its projectile path, starting off slower and maintaining speed longer. This will affect its recoil, fire rate, and projectile behavior. To further improve its effectiveness, the magazine capacity has increased from 8 to 10. Those two changes are for the stratagem and the weapon, of course, and those are some big changes. This is awesome because you can tell that Arrowhead does listen to us and some of our feedback, right? They're not just going to ignore this stuff and then just continue onwards. They've been listening into everything that we've been talking about, especially the Constitution rifle. I know a lot of you have been wanting that to be buffed. And soon enough, it might just be buffed in the future. We've talked about that in the last video. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. What I will be doing is showcasing the gameplay as we do go along. I might have a before and after because I believe I do have some extra clips, but I will include all of that in today's video as well. Moving along, we do have quite a few fixes. They've resolved top priority issues. And I mean, there's a lot going on here. So for instance, we have the first one, which it says, fixed an issue where encounters would not end and enemy spawning was turned off for the rest of the mission. That right there is more towards the eradicate mission. If you guys don't know, there was a big issue where a lot of us could not complete the mission because just for some reason the enemies were not spawning. And as you could tell, they explained why. The next fix is a big one as well because this mission was absolutely broken. If you guys remember the nursery mission, and the hive drill, yeah, they've resolved it. Right here it says, fixed a bug where the hive breaker drill would become inaccessible when called in. Big one. That one has been going on for quite some time, and it's awesome to see that one finally resolved. The third bug coming up is also another huge one, and this one happened to me when I was trying to complete a nuke mission. But right here it says, fixed an issue where terminals would lose functionality preventing completion of a mission. Oh boy, man, they've done a lot here in terms of fixing just some of the annoying bugs. That one was definitely annoying, and it's just great now that we can finally complete a lot of these missions due to, some of the bugs that were preventing it, right? It's great. The fourth bug that's been resolved is a game changer. This one is for chargers. They no longer launch us way up into the sky, as it says right here. Dead bodies of chargers no longer launch Helldivers into the air. Absolutely game changer. So this way you're no longer ragdolling way up in the air or flying across the map and losing all of your samples. That issue will no longer be apparent and you should be perfectly fine now. The fifth bug coming up is a big one for me personally because I use supply packs quite often, and right here it says supply packs are no longer used when pressing the D-pad down button whilst calling in a stratagem. I believe another issue I've had with not just supply packs, but when I try to call in a stratagem, I end up using my stims instead. I'm not entirely sure why it happens, but that's also an issue for me. Maybe it's because I'm doing something wrong. I have no idea, but yeah, that's good to see that one resolved. The next one, which is number 6 on the list, and this one is minuscule for me. For some of you, it's probably a huge problem. But right here it says, QWERTY keypad numpad bindings now save correctly after the game restarts. This bug right here, I've seen a few comments in the past in one of my videos, or maybe 2 of them. I've seen a few comments where some of you are like, hey man, I'm on PC, I'm having issues, my keybinds are restarting every time, what the heck's going on here? And there you go, it's fixed. You should be able to mess around with your keybinds and do everything with QWERTY, and yeah, you should be good to go. Number 7, the service technician has finally found her voice, and it's actually a cool description here on how they explained it. The developers wrote, the service technician is no longer mourning the death of her beloved pet goldfish, Goldie, and can now be interacted with again. Goldie received a dignified funeral and was laid to rest gracefully in a waste capsule. ejected towards the nearest planet's atmosphere, where the friction between the air and the capsule caused it to heat up, violently explode, and disintegrate. Holy smokes. So that goldfish went out in a bang, I guess. Maybe not really, but wow. So yeah, her goldfish got obliterated. It's insane how the developers have quite an imagination, and it's a good thing. It's actually really cool to see them describe a bug like that, which I'm pretty sure is a bug, obviously, and they just explained it in somewhat of a story. So that's cool. Number 8 and 9 on the list says, fixed an issue so that other players can now join a lobby via quick play after any member of a 4-player party leaves. Fixed an issue where the social menu was stuck on please wait democratically for some players. Okay, so those two are major ones. Oh my gosh, it's good to see that they finally fixed those ones. You can now properly have other members, join you and everything. So that's great. And then they've also fixed the issue where you have the social menu stuck, and that's also good to see. All right, bug 10, 11, and 12 can be seen right here. And these ones are also some good ones to see that have been fixed and all that. Right here, the developers wrote, friends invite-only games can no longer be seen on the Galactic war map and cannot be joined. Fixed an issue where uninvited friends could join invite-only games via the social menu. Invite-only lobbies are no longer shown in the hologram. The third one is when you open up the planet there and it has the hologram of it, and you could obviously see several different players playing. And then when you clicked on one, sometimes those players would be in a private lobby and it would pop up and say, hey, you cannot join it because it's a private lobby. And yeah, so they have resolved that, which is nice. Okay, we just went over the top priority issues. Let's talk about the Helldiver fixes. Right here, the developers wrote, fixed an issue causing excessive ragdolling when diving or crawling on uneven terrain. Oh yeah, so when you would dive and you would just hit the smallest pebble, your body would just flop. That has been resolved, but they have said this right here because they do continue on and say, we're currently working on further solutions to address the ragdolling issues. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the last 2 big patches, they didn't do much with ragdolling. I could be wrong. Maybe my memory is just all messed up because I am recording this pretty early in the morning. Yet, if I am wrong, I'm sure a lot of you will correct me in the comments, which is great to see. But yeah, this whole entire issue with the ragdolling is soon going to be, somewhat resolved, right? And, they're looking into other methods and other ways to fix the issues as of right now. And I cannot be happier, to see something like that. Next up, we do have some weapon and stratagem fixes, as well as some improvements. The first one I do want to mention right here is at the top of the list, and it says, fixed stem pistol incorrectly affecting the stem's used statistics in the mission end screen. Okay, not too bad of a fix. But the next one says, fixed dead corpses setting off rockets from RL-77 Airburst rocket launcher. Believe it or not, they actually fixed that issue. Now, when you shoot your rocket, it's no longer going to blow up or basically blow you up to smithereens. They've actually fixed the entire problem with that, so now the bodies will no longer trigger it. That's amazing. The next one, I have not experienced personally, but the developers wrote, fixed an issue where switching to holding a grenade and picking up an artillery shell at the same time caused the artillery shell to become stuck in the Helldiver's hands. Yeah, I've never had that happen to me, maybe because I've never swapped between a grenade and an artillery shell, but if you have, I'm sure you're happy to see that that is now finally gone. It's out of there, and you should probably be able to pick up all these shells and switch between grenades and all that, and you should be fine. Now moving along towards number 5, this one is a massive issue in the last 2 patches. You cannot swap your scope, specifically for the last 5 scythe. Right here, the devs wrote, the last 5 scythe scope is now fully operational and can zoom in and out correctly. This is some good news because in the last 2 patches, you cannot swap your scope at all. Now you can do it correctly by either holding down the square button if you're on console, and I don't believe what it is for PC, but I'm sure you guys out there that do play it on PC know exactly what the keybind is. Coming up at number 6, this one is very similar to the commando bug. If you guys do not know about that one, there was an issue where if you used all of your ammo and then your commando could be picked up again even though you threw it on the ground. That issue was obviously resolved. Well, they did the same thing here with the eats. Right here it says, empty expendable weapons cannot be picked up nor holstered anymore. I will say that these type of bugs can be quite annoying, and it's incredible now that we can see that the developers looked into the issues and it's finally been patched. So you should be good in that area, and you should be able to use your weapons without worrying about picking them back up and, being able to holster them when you shouldn't. We also have a buff, sort of, I believe it is. I mean, they did reduce the reload right here for the Liberator Carbine. It says the AR-23A Liberator Carbine now has the 0.5 sec shorter reload duration properly implemented from 3 to 2.5 sec. It also has the correct magazine unit. Now, the reason why I say it's sort of a buff because it's nothing massive or big, but it's still a buff, right? They reduce the reload, and I think that's okay. I think that's great to see. It's better than it being increased, right? Because that would be worse. Number 8, this one's not a big one, but they just fixed some issues with the mesh on the P11 stim pistol syringes. And lastly, we do have sort of another buff here, but this one is for the MG43 machine gun, and they wrote, the MG43 machine gun now has the 0.5 sec shorter reload duration properly implemented. Yeah, they've correctly done that, so now that when you use it, you should have a shorter reload, and that should make the MG43 a lot better to use now. So far, we've talked about top priority issues, Helldiver fixes, weapon and stratagem fixes, and some improvements, but we also have some enemy issues that they've also resolved. Specifically, the Impaler. The developers wrote this right here. Disabled the gas confusion effect on the Impaler due to odd behavior with its tentacle. Fixed an issue where the Impaler's tentacles would sometimes not impact its target. We're going to pause for a brief second. I believe that's a big issue. I've had it to where the Impaler has hit near me, but my body wasn't ragdolling or I wasn't receiving damage. That should be resolved. You should take some damage or receive damage, better yet. And yeah, that should be resolved. I know a lot of you are not probably happy with that because, I don't know, you guys don't like ragdolling a lot, and I understand that, but I don't find the ragdolling too annoying, at least on the Terminid side. And last but not least, for enemies, Shriekers have been adjusted slightly. They've changed the pathing. They wrote, adjusted Shriekers pathing in tight spaces. They should now prefer to move around tall obstacles instead of trying to fly over them. Okay, with enemies aside, we do have some mission and difficulty fixes, as well as some changes. The first one on the list is fix nuke nursery drills getting dropped on top of bug corpses. The second one is lower the amount of retrieved data objectives spawning on the mission for automatons to match the amount that spawns for the Terminids. Those right there, that's a decent change and a decent fix. Nothing massive, nothing that's a game changer, at least in my opinion, but hey, you might feel different about it. The third change is for the escape pod objective. Apparently now it's only going to appear on difficulty 1 and 2 instead of 2 and 3, as it says right here. Number 4 change and number 5 fix, both of these are decent. It says the Terminid eggs on Purge hatchery objectives are now tagged as objectives with correct VO and icons. Fixed an issue with helipods landing deep underground on edges of bug nurseries during the nuke nursery missions. I believe the 5th bug is referring to when you would helldive onto the mission objective. It would literally send you down into the hole because, when it would explode, the hole would be, obviously present. And then, yeah, now you will no longer have to fall deep within the pits and you should be okay there. For social issue and galactic war map, the developers made it so that there's no longer issues with blocked players, specifically joining your game or allowing to speak to you even though they are blocked. Those are okay. But I do want to bring up the last one on this list, or at least the second to last one. It says, emotes can no longer be triggered while airborne, ragdolling, or sliding. We are monitoring this change and appreciate your feedback for it. Okay, I believe what they've done here is they fixed the issue where you could actually soften your landing when you would hit the ground. That appears to no longer be possible. This might be a big issue for some of you. It's not really one for me, but it does suck now that we're no longer going to be emoting up in the air. I thought it was hilarious when it happened, but yeah, now you cannot do it. And lastly, for miscellaneous fixes, the last one here says, or at least the second to last one says, General Brasch and Jane Helldiver to award Patriotic Medal for Excellence in Patriotism to the member of the Freedom Alliance. Due to budget cuts, these brave Helldivers will receive an extra 3 seconds of R&R, which has now been used reading this note. Get back to work, Helldivers. I personally like seeing stuff like this where they incorporate the characters into the patch notes like they did with John Helldiver. I believe that's now canon, and they've also threw in General Brasch and all that before. Awesome to see. Overall, this is all they've done. I mean, there are some other stuff I didn't get into specifically, but it wasn't worth mentioning. At least in my opinion, But yeah, you guys can definitely check it out. I will leave the patch notes down below so you can check it out for yourself. Also, before I end the video, I know I typically go over your suggested loadouts in the comments. Do not worry, if you commented last time, I'm still going to feature it, whoever won. But you will be featured in the next video. I am going to post 2 loadouts. If you guys would like to, throw a comment down below and you just might be featured. With all the information being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, comment below because you might just be featured in the top 3 comments at the end. The first comment is by the 4th Musketeer. I hope that will manage this order so that there will be no reason to delay the DSS construction. Me too, I hope not. It's been a big problem as of late because we've came close to failing, at least with the Jet Brigade. That one was absolutely terrible with that major order. But yeah, that right there, hope not as well. I hope not as well. The second comment is by General Jedi 8691. Cool username, by the way. This person said, only change I would like to see to the Constitution rifle is adding a stripper clip for quickly reloading when it's empty like they did with the Senator revolver. But other than that, it does its job. I agree, but I disagree at the same time. I think a stripper clip would be great for it. But at the same time, I would love it if they threw in an AP4 round like they did with the Senator. That way you have 2 useful weapons there. I don't think it needs an increase in damage though. I think it's perfectly fine where it is. And the third comment is by Frad.20_10. Liberate Matar Bay, liberate the 2 planets on the bug side, defend from the attacks of the Automatons 2 and 3 at the same time. That right there, thank you for answering that, by the way. I asked you guys, said, hey, you know, what do you guys suggest we do? And you recommended that, and it appears a lot of you agree. And I think that's an excellent plan, and let's go with it and see how things go. But with everything being said, thank you guys so much for checking out the video, and I hope to see you guys comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. I'm trying to see how many subs we can get in one video. If we get to like 300, 400, maybe I'll try to play with some of you in the comments. I don't know. Let's try to aim for that. Also, give this video a like, and yeah, see you guys in the next one.